Rainbow Reflections, Book 1, A Kind of Magic. Chapter 6, Good Company. Zin woke up earlier than usual that Sunday. She rolled up to her feet as she'd been sleeping on the wooden floor. She called out a quick greeting, but received nothing in response. Ren was probably still asleep, considering Zin had kept her up the previous night. Zin shrugged and got dressed in a scarlet robe with balls of fire patterned on it. She then went down the stairs to the family room. Soon after, a loud bell rang through the school at 7, signaling that breakfast was being served for the next hour. Zin didn't know if she'd be able to handle eating anything. What if Hyaktu found out that Ren had used her magic to get Zin enrolled? How was Zin going to perform any type of magic if she didn't have it? Would she fail her classes? Would she be forced to wait another year? And what would Ren choose? Would she really wait for her twin to catch up, or move on without her? In seemingly no time, Ren was in the family room. Ren looked tired, and her messy hair was messier than usual. She smiled half-heartedly at Zin, who did not find it in her to return the greeting. The sisters left the tower, locking it behind them, and made their way across the courtyard to the eating hall. "Well, it's the big day," Ren said as they entered. "We're finally going to get started with school." "Yeah," Zin replied absent-mindedly. There were quite a few people in the hall already, lining up at the counter on the right side of the room. The students slid trays along the counter, grabbing food as the cooks bustled about in the background. All Zin could hear was chatter, and she covered her ears and closed her eyes to block the sounds out. But then all she could smell was food. Crispy bread, savory tofu scramble, sweet chocolate and berries from baked muffins. Zin groaned and shook her head, deciding to breathe from her mouth instead. "Come on, Zin," Ren said, pulling her sister's arm to lead her away from the door. The sisters headed to the counter, Ren grabbing some toast for both of them. They sat down at a table on the edge of the chattery room, but Zin couldn't find it in her to eat the bread. After several minutes, she got to her feet and left the eating hall without a word. She had barely taken 2 steps when Ren was at her side. "Are you still worried about your magic?" Ren asked. Zin nodded, pacing in small circles beside the garden. "What if I can't summon it the whole semester? What if Dad kicks me out of school?" She asked all of this telepathically, unable to form the words aloud. The two had to step aside as more people arrived for breakfast. Sorala was among the students, keeping her distance from the others. She glanced sidelong at Zin and Ren, but didn't make any sort of greeting as she went, though Ren had waved. "What's with her anyway?" Zin muttered, focusing on Sorala to distract herself. "She's just, the loner type," Ren said aloud, before she switched to telepathy. "I'll help you with your magic, okay? I'll perform the magic for you, at least until you get yours." "But what if that doesn't happen?" Zin asked, feeling an anxious knot in her stomach. "It will," Ren replied firmly. "It's only a matter of days, maybe a month at most. In the meantime, I'll do the magic for you." Zin sighed, so she was going to be cheating in school from the start. She glanced at Ren, then nodded once. Hyaktu's voice suddenly rang through the school. "First-year students, head to the Magic Studies classroom when the bell rings again. I expect to see all of you there by 8. As for the rest of you, welcome back to school." Zin fidgeted uneasily. "I think I'll just head to the classroom now." "I'll go with you," Ren said at once. The sisters therefore crossed the courtyard again, this time reaching the eastern wall where the Magic Studies classroom sat. The scent of books filled the air, though there were only desks within. The desks were set up in neat rows, while 2 large tables lay on either end of the room, one in the front and one in the back. There weren't any decorations along the red-painted walls, only a clock. Hyaktu and Kershid were already in the classroom, talking in low voices at the front desk. Hyaktu was dressed in his usual blue robe with the black sash, wearing a rainbow tank top beneath. Kershid wore his collared shirt with the gold sash, which matched the long stripes going down the sides of his pants. Kershid angled his large nose towards the twins as they entered. "You're early," Hyaktu said, smiling at his children as he straightened up. "We like to be punctual," Ren said with a shrug. "So, what are we doing in class today?" Zin asked, curiosity making the knot in her stomach loosen a bit. "Should I even call this a class?" Hyaktu signaled to the table at the back of the room, which contained plenty of sticks. "All first years will be choosing a wand." "Ooh!" Zin let out a delighted noise and hurried for the table, but Hyaktu snatched the end of her rope and held her back. Hey! You can't choose before everyone else gets here, Hyaktu pointed out in amusement. Zin huffed in annoyance. I wasn't going to choose, I just wanted to look. There's so many wands.
You'll get your chance,
Khurshid said calmly, running a hand over his buzz-cut head.
but we first need to go over the school rules, schedule, and all that.
Zin sighed. Fine, she muttered, slumping down in a chair at the front of the class. Is it time yet? Hyaktu glanced at the clock on the wall above the front desk.
7:58,
he read.
1 more minute, and the minute bell will sound before the final bell.
The words had hardly left his mouth when the minute bell rang. It was different from the first bell they'd heard that morning. It was short and sharp, whereas the first bell and the final bell that rang seconds later at 8 sounded like a drawn-out echo. Zin counted the first years as they entered. There were 19 students, which meant that there were 21 first years altogether when including herself and Ren. It seemed that the first year group would be smaller than usual that year, as Zin was quite certain the other years had more students.
Welcome to the school, everyone,
Hyaktu said warmly once they had each taken their seats.
As you should know, I am Hyaktu Saihan, and this is Khurshid Jihan. I'm going to go through my list to make sure you're all here. Just raise your hand when I call your name.
He picked up a mirror from the desk and opened the attendance sheet.
Avin, Midnight. Saihan and Saihan, I know you're here. Clay, Cypress, sorry, C3.
The red-headed boy, who was sitting right behind Zin, raised his hand and said,
I am present.
Dadam Ale, Inzam Zijdezakt.
Hyaktu continued down the list, looking up after saying each name to make note of the different faces.
Fubuki Kumo, Gatin Ronael, Hajaru Remlion, Alcormar, Jay, Cayenne, and Ebony and Scarlet. Triplets, are you?
Yes, 3 voices from the very back replied, each in different tones.
Fascinating,
Hyaktu continued.
Kilima Ash, Kiran Sarala, Niebla Rosa, Pani Shemek Tulasi, Rafford Bana, Retzel Meadow, Rulik Morneo, Senzanko Raimugi, and finally, Wolf Frost. Good, everyone's here.
Hyaktu set the mirror on the desk and went on.
Everyone got their school rules when receiving the room keys and IDs, yes? Does anyone have any questions about them?
It was very self-explanatory,
C3 spoke up. Hyaktu gazed around the room, but nobody else said anything.
Very well, but I'd still like to highlight a few of the rules.
While you are here, you are not to leave the school unless one of your parents comes for you. If you suffer an injury, you will otherwise see the healer on site, Fern Oakley. Miss Oakley's healing room is in the entrance building near the admin office. It's labeled on the map handouts you all received. I also want to point out that magic is not allowed outside of classes for first years during the first month of school. We don't want to have any accidents here, so please do not use your magic unsupervised. Once you are allowed to use your magic, we ask that you only do it for schoolwork. All food is served in the eating hall at specific time slots, with 7 to 8 being breakfast, 12 to 1 being lunch, and 5 to 6 being dinner. You are welcome to hang out in the eating hall as long as you'd like, so long as you're not missing class, of course, but food will no longer be served after those times. If you have a food allergy, please let us know. As you have already been told and undoubtedly noticed, we have rising platforms instead of stairs. These elevators just need to be told where to go. Please do not order them to go up and down for the fun of it. Playing with the elevators will result in an automatic referral. So please be courteous to the other students and wait your turn. Finally, should you need any assistance, whether it be for homework or problems with other students, you can always come to any of the teachers. We do not have specific offices, but you can find us if you ask a frog oil. For those that don't know, a frog oil is a small statue that looks like a frog with fangs. They're all around the school and can guide you to any teacher. They are essentially helpers to both teachers and students. You can also go to the counseling office, especially if you're having trouble in classes or with your mental health. A frog oil is always stationed there to help you set up an appointment. Any questions? C3 raised his hand so quickly that Zin could feel the wind on her neck. She wondered if he used air magic unknowingly.
Yes, C3?
Are there spirits at this school? When looking at the reviews on AirNet of this place, I saw that there had been sightings of a few spirits. I wanted to verify if this was true or not. Are these froggoyles you mention spirits?
Hyaktu frowned. Spirits live around us on a daily basis. You might see them, especially when you're living in the middle of the forest. The froggoyles are not spirits, though they are enchanted by spirit magic. Now,
But do any spirits work here?
C3 pressed.
Why would you ask that?
Kershid inquired.
The reviews mention that some of the teachers had purple eyes and...
I have purple eyes, and that does not make me a spirit, Hyaktu pointed out. The purple eyes thing is merely a myth,
Eye color makes no difference,
Kershid added.
especially to me.
Zin rolled her eyes. C3's gonna be that annoying nerd, isn't he? She heard Ren chuckle softly beside her. Now,
Oh!
C3 interrupted Hyaktu again.
I have one more question.
Yes? Hyaktu asked patiently, while Kershid looked a bit exasperated.
Do spirits eat food?
C3 queried.
And if so, what kind of food do they eat? Are they carnivores, like the lions I've read about? Or are they herbivores, like us? Would they eat processed food, or only natural food?
Hyaktu stared at C3 for a long moment, then said, That was more than one question. Anyhow, I hope you aren't intending on looking for a spirit and feeding it. Spirits don't have to eat like we do. Spirits can eat if they want to, and they can eat whatever they want at that. Most are herbivores simply due to it being easier to eat plants that aren't fully alive like animals are. Now... He paused significantly here, clearly waiting for C3 to interrupt again. We will tell you about the school schedule you'll be following. You will be enrolled in the same classes, apart from your choice of elective classes. Kershid took over the conversation as Hyaktu reached for a wooden water bottle.
You start off Moon Day morning with magic studies, magic channeling, plants, and potions. After lunch, you'll go to 2 Kung Fu classes. The first choice of elective are the 2 Tai Chi classes, which are after Kung Fu. You can otherwise choose 2 art classes. All art classes are on free day, and upper year students are in these classes as well. First years otherwise only have classes on Moon Day. Second years have class on Triz Day, third years on Wada Day, and fourth years on Thor's Day. Magic studies is the study of magic, obviously. Magic channeling goes into how to use your magic and will be hands-on. Plants and potions are very similar, as you study plants that you'll be using and the potions you brew. Kung Fu is all about self-defense, and magic will later be added in, as magic is primarily a defense mechanism. Tai Chi is another fighting art, but goes more slowly than the explosive Kung Fu. If you have a disability that prevents you from doing Kung Fu, even with adjustments, you will be enrolled in Tai Chi instead. Though I believe all of you here are fine with doing Kung Fu. Magic martial arts is reserved for high-ranking students. Any questions?
The room was quiet, Sir Kershid pressed on.
Now, take out your mirrors or come to the front for a piece of paper. I want you to write down your name and which 2 elective classes you want to take. You can take as many electives as you'd like.
Only Sarala went to the front for paper, as the other students pulled out their mirrors. Zin glanced over at Ren, who held the family mirror out between their desks so they could both use it.
Like I said, Tai Chi already has 2 classes to it. If you want to take Tai Chi, you don't have to worry about taking any other classes.
Ren instantly tapped the mirror several times, writing out Tai Chi in the writing app. Shrugging, Zin told her telepathically to add it for her as well. She wasn't too keen on the idea of moving slowly, but if Tai Chi was slow and meditative, maybe it would help her find her magic.
The art classes we offer here are drawing and painting, which is 1 class, cooking, writing, fashion, choir, band, and theater, which is 2 hours long as opposed to every other class being 1 hour. Once you have written your electives, send them to Mr. Saihan with the airmail button. His airmail address is hyaktu-saihan/saihan-academy/net. If you wrote it down, you can just turn in your piece of paper.
Zin glanced at the classes Ren had put down for herself. It turned out that she wanted to take all of the art classes. Zin grinned and muttered, "Same." Ren nodded and added Zin's name to the airmail message before sending it off.
Any questions?
Khurshid asked again. Nobody said anything.
I'll get these schedules made up for you,
Hyaktu said, tapping his mirror. He took the piece of paper from Sarala, who sat at the far end of the classroom. He hurried out the door, calling over his shoulder, "I'll be back soon." Khurshid therefore took over the class.
Now, as I said, you're all going to be taking the magic channeling class. This class will teach you how to use objects, specifically wands, to channel your magic and control the elements. You will earn a certification at the end of the year if you pass this class, so you are legally allowed to use magic with an object.
What do you mean, legally allowed? Sarala asked.
People are not allowed to use their magic if they have no control over it.
Khurshid explained.
Of course, you can play around and test it out, but you cannot use magic at work, for example. This could cause injuries. Having an object channeling certification is crucial to anyone using magic outside of their homes. You will be earning certifications for each class so long as you pass them. This tells your future employers how much magical education you received in a particular subject. After the first year, you are not required to take all classes. You can choose which classes to go into. Most students end up leaving after 2 years, especially as 3rd and 4th year students require a teacher's permission to get into the advanced classes. Now, you will be choosing your wand. On the back table over there, we have lots of wands. Very few are made of the same wood. This is because each wood has a different property. You can read the slip with each wand to see what properties that wood has and choose based off of that. Or you can choose the wand if it feels right to you. Please do not choose a favorite tree or color. You will be working with your wand throughout the year, so you want to have one that you truly connect with. Please, no fighting over the wands.
Khurshid added, as each of the students zoomed to the back of the room. "This is so cool," Zin said to Ren, inspecting the wands at one side of the table. "I know, right?" Ren replied, reaching for a wand and twirling it in her fingers as she read the small paper attached to it. This one's holly. Represents energy, positivity, and protection." "You're gonna choose based on the qualities, aren't you?" Zin scoffed. "Of course," Ren said. "Isn't Dad's wand made from holly?" Ren nodded in reply, setting down the holly wand and reaching for another one. Zin grabbed one at random and looked at it. It was smooth and bland, somehow more bland than the other wands there. She shrugged and moved on. Sarala soon made it to their end of the table, then reached for a wand. Ren took this moment to try talking to the other girl again. Which one did you get? Ren asked her brightly.
Sorella looked down at the tag. Sumac, grounding and protection, she said simply.
Sounds like a good one, Zin said, joining in.
Sorella shrugged, leaving a small silence.
Ooh, I like this one,
Ren said, snatching up a wand that was pale on one end and darker on the other.
It's Viburnum, which represents focus, relaxation, and deep breathing.
That's definitely yours, Zin remarked.
I quite agree.
Can you move out of the way?
A loud voice asked suddenly. They each looked up in surprise. C3 was standing next to them, looking annoyed.
You're in the way,
he said to Zin. Zin glared at the boy with a raised eyebrow.
No need to be so rude, she muttered, as she stepped aside a bit reluctantly.
C3 ignored her and went for a wand on the far corner, which had been out of his reach when Zin was standing by the table. It looked like the label termed it as Hazel.
You still have to choose a wand, Ren told Zin. Go on.
Zin couldn't find a wand that spoke to her, though. Most of the students had found their wands until it was just her left. Getting the feeling that she was holding up the class, Zin finally snatched a bent brownish-red wand, which was labeled as Hazel and represented balance. Scowling that she might have just chosen the same wand as C3, Zin returned to her seat.
Everyone got their wands?
Khurshid asked cheerfully.
Yep, I hope so. Yes, Mr. Jihan.
Good. Now you're going to make the wands more personal to you, Hyaktu said, entering the classroom and signaling for the students to return to their seats. Lots of people choose to carve symbols into their wands, but you can add things like vines, flowers, leaves, feathers, crystals, and other charms. You can also paint yours if you'd like. You'll find all the supplies you need in that cabinet over there. Once you have personalized your wand, come to me to verify your schedule is correct, then you may leave. Zin had no idea what to add to her wand. She glanced at the mass of students huddled around the cabinet Hyaktu had pointed to, and decided to ponder while she waited at her desk. Yes, she zoned out, imagining going on adventures with a wand at her side, guiding her way like a light in the dark. She was still in deep thought by the time the crowd cleared. She only snapped out of her thoughts when she heard C3's annoying voice telling Hyaktu that he was done. Zin glanced at the clock and saw that it hadn't even been 5 minutes since Hyaktu's instructions. She peered closer at C3's wand and saw that he had merely added 3 scratch marks near the bottom.
That's so boring,
Zin said, pointing it out to Ren. But Ren was not beside her. She was at the cabinet, grabbing supplies. Zin hastily jumped to her feet to join her sister. Zin and Ren returned to their seats with a small handful of interesting supplies and some carving tools. Sorella moved to sit down on Zin's other side.
Haven't started yet, Sorella grunted.
Ren looked surprised but delighted to see her joining them.
I have ideas,
she replied.
I still don't know what to do,
Zin muttered, wishing her daydreams had showed her what her wand looked like being decorated. Sorella held up her wand. Do you think it's fine if I just leave it like this?
You haven't done anything to it, Zin pointed out.
No, but it doesn't look like some twig, does it? It has elegant curves perfectly measured out around its base. Why do we need to decorate them anyway? Sorella asked irritably.
If you lose your wand, you'd know what to look for, Ren explained. Or if someone finds it, they'd have an easier time knowing who it belongs to.
I guess, Sorella said.
Here, take this,
Ren said, handing her a purple crystal. Don't you want it? Sorella asked, narrowing her eyes. Ren shrugged.
You need it more than I do.
Does it do anything?
It's agate, which helps stabilize you, Ren said. Not that you need stability right now, but, in the future, if you happen to be unbalanced or, if you're stressed out or something, not saying that you're unbalanced.
She blushed as she stumbled over her words and fell silent. I'll take it, Sorella grunted. She tied the crystal around the top of her wand. Once done, she got to her feet and approached Hyaktu. She had to wait for her schedule as more students had finished with their wands. What are you doing with your wand? Zin asked Ren. Ren didn't respond right away, as she focused on attaching a fluffy white feather to the base of the wand.
Well, since I have air magic and Dad does, and you probably will too, I thought it'd be a nice touch to include a feather. she whispered. And these charms represent us. Zin watched as Ren attached a pale blue crescent moon and a golden sun charm just above the feather. Zin smiled. I think I'm done, Ren said, eyeing her wand proudly. Not you too, Zin groaned. Hold on, let me put something together real quick. She grabbed a small vine and twirled it around the wand, but it didn't feel like enough. She frowned and glanced over at Ren's wand, then smiled as she had an idea. She used a carving tool to draw a sun and a crescent moon at the top of her wand. Ooh, I like it, Ren said. It still isn't done, though, Zin said, observing it. It needs more carvings on the bottom to balance it out. Ooh, I have an idea. She started at the base, etching a tree standing on a rock. She then moved up the wand, adding what she hoped looked like raindrops, fire, and clouds. The 4 elements? Ren guessed. Zin nodded eagerly. This wood is about balance after all, and you can't have balance without all 4 elements, or without the sun and moon. I like how it starts with the ground, then goes to the sky with the sun and moon, remarked Ren. Yeah, kinda cool. Are you done now, then? Yep, she said with a nod. She looked around the classroom and saw that she and Ren were the last students there. Whoops. Don't worry about it, Ren chuckled. It's not like we have anything else to do for the rest of the day. They made their way to their father, showing him their wands and explaining the purpose behind them. Hyaktu nodded to their words, beaming. Excellent work, he praised. I'm glad to see you have both taken my past lessons to heart. Past lessons? You mean all the math and history? Zin teased. He means the philosophical lessons of balance and living naturally, Ren scoffed. Yeah, I know, Zin chuckled. Hyaktu laughed, then said, Well, I'm happy regardless. Learn these lessons early, kids. Now, you know you enrolled in every art class, right? Zin and Ren nodded. You sure you want to take on so much? Hyaktu asked. Of course, Zin replied. It'll be fun. And art doesn't require magic, at least as far as I know. Hyaktu smiled. Okay, here are your schedules. He passed them identical schedules, and the sisters grinned at one another. Yee, I can't wait for classes! Zin exclaimed, hopping in the air. They were almost to the door when Hyaktu stopped them. I almost forgot. Sarala will be staying in the empty bedroom above your room, Zin. Zin and Ren exchanged a glance. Why? They asked in unison. She asked if she could have a room change, Hyaktu said with a shrug. She didn't want to be around so many people. I told her the only free room was in our tower. That's not true. There's plenty of space and not that many students, Zin pointed out. The rooms in the northern building are probably full of dust they're never used. Hyaktu shrugged again. All the more reason not to use them. And that's actually where most of the extra supplies are kept, rather than actual beds. He chuckled. Then he said seriously, If she wants a room change, then I might as well keep a closer eye on her. We don't know anything about her, after all. Do you think she's trying to cause trouble? Ren asked, sounding dismayed. Possibly. Or maybe she's just uncomfortable with all the new students being around now. Anyhow, go ahead and show her to her new room. She already has the key to her room, but I'm not giving her a key to the tower. She'll have to depend on one of us to get in. Zin and Ren nodded. Go on, then. You have the rest of the day to get to know her better, Hyaktu said, waving them off. Zin and Ren hurried from the room. They didn't have to look far for Sarala. She was standing outside the Tai Chi studio, beside the stone elevator that led to the upper floors of the western building. She seemed a bit uncertain, but nodded to Zin and Ren as they came bounding over. Mr. Saihan told me I'm taking a room in the tower now, she said shortly. Ren nodded eagerly. Yes, we'll show you. Come on. Do you have all of your stuff? Zin asked her. Sarala shrugged in reply. All I have are my wand and just my wand. Oh, did Dad not get you any new clothes? Ren asked in surprise. He offered, Sarala muttered. And he didn't take him up on it? Zin queried. He's already given me so much, Sarala grumbled. Well, you can borrow some of my clothes, Ren said cheerfully, entering the Tai Chi studio and walking over to the tower door. And Zin wouldn't mind sharing either. She has so many robes. Zin opened her mouth to protest, but noted that was true. Her wardrobe mostly contained heavily patterned robes for many different occasions. No thanks, Sorala grumbled, glancing sidelong at Zin as Ren unlocked the door. But you have to wear something besides what you're wearing now, Ren objected. No thanks to taking clothes from Zin, Sorala clarified. I'll take some of your clothes if you really want to give them to me. Of course, Ren said. She led the way into the family room and to the spiral stairs across from the door. She darted up, Zin and Sorala following. Ren stopped on the second floor to tell Sorala it contained the bathroom, then stopped on the third floor to go into her room. After about 10 minutes, the trio came out carrying bundles of soft clothes for Sorala. They then went up to the fourth floor, Zin announcing it was her bedroom, before they went to the fifth floor. They opened the door and led Sorala into the empty bedroom, which was painted yellow. Here's your new room, Ren said, dumping the clothes she'd been carrying onto the bed. It doesn't get used too often. Actually, I don't think it's ever been used. Besides that one time when Aster's room caught fire, Zin pointed out. Sorala raised an eyebrow at that. How? It's a long story, Ren chuckled. What about your dad? Where does he sleep? On the sixth floor, Ren replied. He likes to go up and down the stairs for exercise purposes or something, Zin added. Though I swear I've heard wind in the tower before, as if he was riding a bunch of air down. Well, make yourself at home, Ren said brightly. If you need anything, we'll be downstairs, Zin said. We'd love to get to know you more, Ren added. Sorala grunted and lowered her eyes to the floor. I think that's everything? Ren questioned, glancing at Zin. I think so. Yep. No, wait. Be warned that I scream every morning, Zin said delightfully, as she and Ren left the room. Sorala stared after them, looking bewildered. She's totally going to hate you for that, Ren muttered to Zin as they went back down the stairs. Zin shrugged carelessly. You can't please everyone.